Today we're here to talk about the Uncharted 4 spoilers. So we all finished the game. I don't know about you guys, but I got my copy at midnight and went through it in about a day and a half. I didn't sleep much, but I did really enjoy the game. It was pretty awesome. I guess we'll start with Kenneth, if you can introduce yourself and then tell us what you thought.
Hi, I'm Kenneth Shepard. I'm not a Big Culture staff member, but I'm just here to talk about Uncharted because Paul and I used to work together and he asked me to. I really, really love this game. I was playing it, I played it early because I was playing it for review for another site, and I actually gave it my first 100, which Paul was starting to ask me about, but just before we started recording here.
I wanted to ask you about that, but let's introduce everyone first, and then we'll get to all that. Evan, you go next.
My Uncharted copy came in a couple days late because of an Amazon snafu, but they made it up to me. They essentially let me keep the game and refunded the whole price. So it was well worth my couple days wait. I loved it. It took me a little bit longer than Eric. I definitely misjudged how long it was going to take me based on your time frame. So I didn't finish it until Sunday mid-afternoon, but I loved it.
I finished it yesterday. I got it, let's see, when did it come out? On Tuesday. So I got it on Thursday is when it came from Amazon. Basically played a good couple of hours each day until I finally finished it yesterday. And yeah, loved it. There's a lot of things I want to talk about, but we'll get to all that. How long do I have to wait to talk about the Crash Bandicoot?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that in the first topic. So
good. Let me know when.
All right. So I guess we'll go right into that. So for the first topic I wanted to talk about what you guys thought about Drake's new life as he's shown in the beginning of the game through the introduction. He's obviously not the same Drake he was before. He's kind of settled into a regular life, despite the ominous, exciting feeling of diving underwater just to see that you're recovering copper. But I want to know what you guys thought, so we'll start with Evan on this one. What did you think about the intro and Drake's new life?
I kind of liked it. Like I wrote in the review, it was nice to have a sort of narrative setup that the other Uncharted's kind of lacked. They kind of had a setup, but it was nice to see Drake and he's out of the game. He finally settled down with Elena, and actually, I was a little bored at first, but I think that was intentional. I think they intentionally bored us to sympathize with Drake and his longing for adventure. But I did actually thoroughly enjoy his life with Elena. I thought they're pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot as well. I thought it gave a little bit more depth to their relationship than you did get from the other games, even though they did focus a lot on them throughout the series.
Right.
Just that little bit in the beginning gave so much to them.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really get from anything else. What about you, Kenneth?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that sequence because I feel like it sets the tone for how this game is going to be different than the first three games. Because honestly, overall, Uncharted 4 is a much more methodical and somber story, honestly. And to see Nate kind of you go around his attic and you see all these old treasures that he got, and each of them associated with one of the past games. You see that this is going to be a little bit more of an inward look at Nate, and just not even just Nate, just the entire cast in general. It really sets the tone for how Uncharted 4 is different, and in the way that I think it's superior to the past three games.
Yeah.
Definitely. What about you, Paul? I know you want to talk about something very specific, so we'll let you bring that up at the end of your comment.
Well, I kind of just want to jump into that. It's the main reason I'm here. I have a lot of things that I want to talk about. That's fine. And you guys all made good points. But, yeah, it wasn't really a boring start. It was just I agree with what Evan was saying. It just kind of to sympathize with Drake, just to kind of have that feeling of a mundane life of just sitting down and doing papers, and then getting dinner, and just playing a video game. And I want to say that moment when that happened. First of all, I was not expecting that. I'm lucky that I even got to the point where that was not spoiled for me.
Yeah.
So number one, they didn't have to do all that much. Like just a clip. I mean, just a glimpse of a CD of Crash Bandicoot would have been enough, and I would have lost my mind. Just watching them play the game would have been enough for me to just lose my shit. But then, sorry, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to curse, but
Go for it.
Come from Bedcast.
Crash Bandicoot quality.
It was so good. It was so good. I love the fact that number one, you get to play an entire level of Crash Bandicoot. I mean, for those who, obviously, if you're listening to this, you've played the game, so you know exactly how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you're playing it and then you get to hear Drake's comments on it, what is that, a fox? Foxes don't do that. Like, I'm pretty sure, what is that, a bandicoot? They don't look like that. I'm pretty sure they don't wear sneakers. Like, every little comment they say is so good. And, like, I wrote this on Facebook and on Twitter, I think, like a day ago. But that is the greatest Easter egg I think I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think how that can ever be topped. It's so good. So good. I lost my mind when that moment happened.
It certainly is one of the best Easter eggs. I actually, when I walked down the stairs as Drake, and I just happened to be like, I love looking at architecture, and so I was just like viewing everything in their house, and I happened to notice the PlayStation 1 sitting underneath their TV, and that got me super excited. I actually screenshotted it because I was going to use it in my review, and then I didn't expect anything else, and all of a sudden they turned on the PlayStation with its awesome Sony PlayStation 1 sound, and it was wonderful.
Also, I have a few questions about that. How do they even do that? I mean, I really want to know. I haven't looked into this, but I know they don't have the rights to Crash anymore. I know Activision does, or maybe I'm missing something. Maybe those rights lapsed. I don't know how they did it. Go ahead.
They could have paid them. I don't know. They could have had. They could have had the rights to the original files and not the character itself. It could have been any number of things. Money usually solves issues.
Yeah. It's like the fact that they even were able to do that. It was beautiful, and I love that game for that.
Yeah. It was definitely something that caught everyone off guard. I know, even with me playing it at the hectic speed I was, because I couldn't put it down. I even saw stuff online about it, but like IGN had a thing they made where it was like he was playing Uncharted, and I thought that was the Easter egg everyone was talking about, and then when it's Crash Bandicoot, I flip shit.
So good.
Does anyone else have any comments on the intro and Drake's life before we move on to the next topic?
I just briefly, the more that I got into those first 4.5 chapters and really got to relearn the characters, the more I dreaded what was going to unfold in the game, because I didn't want him to ruin either of their lives. I thought it was perfect. The setup was perfect. It really got me emotionally involved.
Oh yeah, I was totally thrown into that, and I was totally following everything they did in their relationship throughout the game, rooting for Elena, mad at Drake whenever he fucked something up.
Yeah, it was craftfully done.
All right, so we'll move on to our next topic. Does Sam Drake add enough to the mythos to make a difference? So, Sam Drake is a new character to the game. He's not. I don't think he was ever even mentioned at all that he had a brother throughout the series. I think they retconned that by saying that he was too upset about it to bring it up. But that one definitely was a new thing, and it brought a lot to the story. But do you really think Sam Drake does enough to the series to really make a difference? Is he really that important? Let's start with Evan.
I think he's important to the sense that Uncharted 4 wouldn't really exist without him, but I mean, I don't know. Kind of like felt their backstory felt almost like shoot in the whole when they were inside the mansion finding the journal of their mothers, and then like that whole dialogue with the old lady, and like that all seemed a little forced. But outside of that, I mean, without Sam, Nathan would legitimately have no good excuse to go. I think it would be pretty difficult for them to, force him out of retirement otherwise. But as far as like the overall series mythos, I mean, he's sort of irrelevant to the past stories.
Well, Sam's kind of. I feel like as the era goes on, we're going to hear a lot of criticism brought towards Sam about just how he's, this character that we never heard about, and I described it like he is kind of like a character that exists like outside the lines of every other game. So like he doesn't necessarily, he doesn't contradict anything, but he also is very like the reasons why he's not there are pretty convenient, and that's just kind of the nature of how story writing works. Like you work with what you've got. But as for whether he makes a difference or not, I don't really know if that's what his intent, like the intention in creating that character is. I feel like he's just more of like a foil of how Nate has changed over all these games, because you look back at the first scenes of Drake's Fortune, and he's just like this really cocky. He's trying to screw Elena out of this deal that they've made, and then you get 4 games later, their roles have kind of reversed from what they were in like the flashback sequences at the mansion and when they were kids. So I think for no other reason, I feel like I enjoyed Sam because he has a look at how much Nathan Drake has changed, and that I think is the kind of the through line through which Nate is going through this whole game, is talking about like how he's changed so much from that cocky little brat that we knew 4 games ago. So I enjoyed Sam for that reason, as well as I just think that he's, despite the sort of contrived nature of his conception, I still think that he is a great character on his own, because we see that he has this through line of obsession that he has to deal with, that we saw Nate deal with in 3, and really the whole series. So again, like I just think he does a great job of like representing a different version of Nate that was no longer here.
Yeah, definitely good comparison between Drake now and Drake then. Like, you think maybe if he had never come across Elena, maybe this is how he would still be.
Right.
What about you, Paul? You think Sam had a big impact on the series as a whole?
I mean, not on the series as a whole, no, not at all. I mean, Uncharted 4, yeah, and the way that the series ended. I was thinking about that for a while, because when they first announced them, and we first found out that the whole concept of 4, the end of the series was going to be, the whole story was going to revolve around this guy who we've never seen before. And I usually hate that when it happens in TV shows a lot. Like, there's a new season of a show, and then they have to bring in a new character. Here's Uncle Bob, who you've never seen before, but now he's going to be a huge part of the story throughout the entire new season. It felt like that. It even felt like that at first. But the more you think about it, they had to come up with a good reason to, number one, bring Drake out of retirement, because he's got a good life now. He's got a lot going on for him. Him just kind of wanting to go out and do it, one last time, that's not going to fly. That's not a good, believable reason for him to risk his life again, especially now that he's married. They had to bring something that's really important. And family is going to make somebody do something crazy like that, at least for the last time. And that kind of brings together the whole theme of the game, which is, it's all about family. Not just with him and his brother, but then, we're going to talk about the ending later, but you guys know what I mean. The more that the game went on, the more I like the concept of Sam even being there. His character was portrayed really well. Like his backstory was amazing. I mean, I'm glad they didn't just put him into the game, and just expect people to embrace him and believe that he's an integral part of the story, even though you've never seen him before. Even though he was just kind of dropped into the series, they did a really good job of believing that he was an important reason to put into this game to end the series with him, I guess.
Yeah, they made sure to cover as many bases as they could for making sense of why he was gone so long and why he was never mentioned. Even besides the fact that Drake thought he was dead, they made sure to mention that he was always in jail when Drake was out, and vice versa. And they always mentioned how he was gone when he was younger, and they made sure to basically pound it into your head that you knew that he was always there, but he was always not there at the same time.
Yeah, I was thinking about that chapter in Uncharted 3 when Drake is a kid, when he meets Sully for the first time, and I was trying to kind of figure out where that takes place in this whole thing, because I think that's is that after?
That's before Sam allegedly dies.
Yeah, it's after the orphanage, but before that whole prison scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about. What the world
Sam's well aware of who Sully is.
Yeah. That's something I think they didn't go into a lot.
They covered it with a line I mentioned where they said they were always in and out of jail opposite each other.
Yeah.
So the assumption is that Sam was in jail while Drake was free. So.
Okay.
I will say the team at Naughty Dog made sure to cover as many plot holes as they could to give as much emotional impact to Sam to this series.
Yeah.
Any closing comments before we go to the next topic?
No, just that Sam is a really likable character.
Yeah. It's like the Troy Baker like official character is always someone you hate but like at the same time.
I love Troy Baker, but Sam, I wanted to like him, and I mean, I guess I did like him, but he's just a really likable character.
Yeah, the whole backstabbing Drake at the end was pretty rough.
Right, but then he takes a bullet at the same time. He was all in.
What, 5 minutes he betrayed him and then
right. It was like he had good intentions.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I guess I was thinking about that too. Before we move on, is the whole prison break scene with Sam? How they make you play it?
Right.
I guess to trick you into believing it too. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Right, because you're going to be fairly suspicious of him regardless.
And you have to think about, since he's telling this story, basically, if you were a badass in that scene, it was basically him saying he was a badass,
right.
Taking out all these guards. All right, so the next topic I have for us is are Rafe and Nadine strong additions to the Uncharted villains gallery. So, Uncharted villains as a whole aren't usually that great. I think the best one was, who do you guys think was probably do you like Rafe and Nadine? I guess we'll start there.
We'll
start with you, Paul.
I was going to say that they're all... Uncharted has always had a problem with their villains. I think that's been their main problem. They've never had really good standout villains that you remember. That's why I can't even answer that question, because I don't remember any other names. They're just forgettable.
It's bald guy, old lady,
and a hot chick, I think, who betrays you.
Well, I think prior to this game, they're all kind of like archetype characters, but Navarro was pretty cool in the original game. He's not really the main villain until the last 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
But he's the only memorable one out of those. As far as Nadine and Rafe go, I actually really liked both of them, except I didn't like how Nadine exited the game.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
It was like a cop out. That bothered me. But Rafe, I thought Rafe was really believable.
Hmm. What about you, Kenneth? I saw you wanted to say something.
Well, first of all, I think both Rafe and Nadine are, like, without a doubt, the best villains that the series have had. Because you look at characters like Marlowe and Lazarevich, they were these, basically like these super villains that were just cackling about, like, wanting power out of, these different treasures that, they could use to manipulate the world. Where Rafe and Nadine have these actual, like, human reasons for what they're doing. Nadine, like, Elena explains, like, fairly late in the game, but she explains that Nadine is trying to basically get her group of mercenaries, like, back on top because they've inherited a lot of, like, bad reputation from either something that happened with her father, I believe.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile you have Rafe, who he's a spoiled brat who is aware that, like, everyone kind of thinks that's all he is, that everything he's done in life has been handed to him. And you see, like, at the end of the game when you're in the sword fight, he talks about how, like, in his last, like, blows, he's like, don't hand this to me. I've had everything handed to me. And as he's doing this, he's, like, just enraged, thinking about everything that Nate has accomplished. And he like, lists off all the things that you did in the past games. And, like, unlike Marlowe, who just wanted, to manipulate people with that djinn that was in the desert, and, like, they all wanted power, where Rafe just wants a legacy, where Nadine just wants, I guess, her own form of, like, retribution. So, my main complaint would be that I felt like Nadine as a whole was underutilized, but every time she was there, she was, like, the star of the show. She never really loses to anyone. She's kicking Nate's ass. She managed to take on both Nate and Sam at the same time. And at the end, like, you guys say that you didn't really like her exit. I felt it was actually great, because she's, like, she walks away while everyone else here is, like, basically risking their lives to get all this, like, just to get treasure and a legacy. And she's just kind of, like, the first one to come to her senses and just be like, I don't care what you guys do, but I'm not staying around to watch.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Nathan was just there to get his brother out at that point.
Yeah.
He was done with the treasure way before that. He tried to talk Sam out of it numerous times. I just felt that, like, probably halfway through, I knew that Nadine and Rafe were going to turn on each other. It was pretty clear. I mean, I totally agree with you that she is a badass character. She's one of the coolest characters. But, I don't know, it really bothered me the way that she bowed out.
I kind of agree with that, only because I thought at that point, like, she was going to make a step towards, helping Drake, or, seeing how this guy was just leading her on this, like, murderous, like, rampage and using her men and using her. I thought she would have, picked a side instead of just said, screw you guys, I'm going home.
Yeah. I felt like she was, like, instead of, like, making the wise choice of saying, forget this treasure, I feel like she was more acting in retaliation from when Rafe turned his gun on her. Like, it wasn't so much a big step in character development as it was like a bitter, well, screw you too.
But I also never really got the sense that the treasure was what Nadine was ever after, because...
No, you're right, it wasn't, but I don't know. What she then her entire...
She was just doing her job. She was very loyal to her client, no matter what. Like, they mentioned how... I forgot the name of the company they worked for.
Shoreline,
yeah. So they mentioned earlier on how Drake said that, why can't we just offer her half? And was it Sam or Sully made a comment that, like, Shoreline is very loyal to their clients. They don't do the afterpay. They always take the money up front.
yeah. Except for soldiers. The soldiers weren't very loyal to her.
Oh no, I mean, going with the fact that Drake's basically a murderer, he killed hundreds of soldiers, and, like, the last 3 dudes are sitting there like, we better get paid for this.
That's true.
Hold on, why is that a thing about Uncharted and Nathan Drake in general? about how many people he kills, because
Well,
it's not the same thing in every single video.
you
game
think
that
about
he's
it,
killed.
but they actually make comments in the later games about how he's killed their army or
Yeah.
killed all of their men, like blatantly calling out Drake for being a murderer. It was the second game at the end where he calls out the villain, but the villain turns on him and is like, "Aren't you the same since you just killed all my men?"
Yeah. I mean, it would be one thing if he was like purely acting in self-defense, but like he enjoys it. At least that was one thing that I thought they did better in this, was that I didn't really feel like he wasn't like just loving every second of killing these people.
Yeah,
like
I do remember
he
that.
didn't really have
Mhm.
any snappy, witty like one-liners to go in this game.
Yeah, like he would snap somebody's neck
Right.
and he would just go, ha
Yeah,
ha.
like that article I wrote, I was looking up all his one-liners, and like he just would like mock him as he killed him. So at least in that sense, he's matured a little bit.
Which article, Evan? What's the name of the article?
It was Nathan Drake, hero or sociopath.
Nice. Just getting a plug in there.
I did make mention though, Paul, to go with your point, that we often take the role of a hero who does, in fact, hurt about as many people as he saves.
Yeah.
But I think Nathan Drake's case is a little more noticeable.
I don't know. That's something that I never got that whole joke, because in every game you do
No,
that.
you're right.
And all the Arkham games, like, you don't technically kill anybody, but I mean, like, you snap everyone's necks.
Right.
Like, nobody in that game that you fight is ever gonna walk again.
Right, and
maybe talk again.
that's
The way you-
that's the Batman joke, is that he like maybe in his sick, demented head believes that he's not killing these people, but they're certainly dead.
yeah.
Oh, I think the whole thing with Drake and that is how they are self-referencing the fact that he's killed their men, and like it's not just a game thing. Like they're actually pointing out how many people he's killed, or
Yeah.
how he's doing it basically for treasure. Like at that point, it's a little off. Like I forget where I saw it, but there was a count on how many people like Indiana Jones killed, and it was like 30, and Drake's killed probably in the thousands at this point.
That's true.
Yeah, especially if you keep like repeating a level
Right.
and keep dying
Well,
over and over.
the
Yeah.
Shoreline guys in 4 were like almost comparing them to gods at one point towards like the last quarter of the game.
Okay, I mean, I guess we're like a little bit off topic, but that's fine. That happens when you record any of these podcasts. But Nathan Drake he's got superhuman strength and stamina. Because I know it's a video game and you're supposed to, suspend disbelief, but nobody is that good at climbing and jumping of anything. Not even Spider-Man can climb that well. It's kind of impossible. Like his level of stamina is impossible. It's ridiculous. And that's something I can never get over with all the Uncharted games. Also, with the way you swing around and climb around, like, this is the best Spider-Man game I've ever played. Like, there's never been a good Spider-Man game until I played this game. So that's something that Naughty Dog should probably look into next.
I will say I totally 100% agree with you. At least this one, you don't have to jump from ledge to ledge. Like if you just hover your hand over it, he like grabs onto the thing, and they're close enough that he can just like shimmy over.
That resulted in many deaths for me in the earlier games.
Yes, yeah, me too. I died. So I don't think I died once in this game due to a platforming issue. I only died when I thought I could jump somewhere, and it turned out that it wasn't. Like I wanted to explore, and I couldn't explore there.
I don't know if you guys have ever watched Ninja Warrior. It's a really great Japanese show that very, very few people have ever beaten. I mean, they brought it to the States too with American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
It's like Nathan Drake could beat that whole thing easily, like every single time. It's ridiculous.
Yes, absolutely.
Watch Ninja Warrior. It's a great show. Great show.
Alright, let's go on to the next topic before we do more Ninja Warrior. I don't know about you guys, but I love when games have like a very final ending like that for this kind of series, and seeing that they had a daughter, and the way they did it too with the Crash Bandicoot, back to Paul there, I thought that was the end of the game when they were doing the Crash Bandicoot. I thought that was going to be the credits, because they were joking about how they're...
The credits roll as you're running down the screen.
No. I was freaking out. Okay, so you're playing Crash Bandicoot again at the end of the game, and then I finished the game. Like, I finished the level in one try. This is kind of embarrassing, but the first time I played Crash, like, I lost twice, and then I didn't actually get to finish because I was just freaking out. I couldn't even control Crash properly. I failed twice, and I'm actually really good at video games, by the way. But the second time, I'm more comfortable. Like, I really enjoyed the ending, and I'm playing the game. Okay, so you finish the stage, and then the camera starts slowly kind of turning to see who's playing the game, and I'm like, who's gonna be playing the game? I thought for a moment maybe it's Crash Bandicoot playing the game. Like, I didn't even know what it could be. I thought it could be him or Jack and Daxter or Nate or Nolan North. I don't even know. Like, the way they zoomed and they kind of just slowed it down, like, my heart started racing because I don't know what I was expecting. And then it's like, oh, okay, it's just a girl, which was great. But everything that was going on in my head about what they could show in that bed, like a polygon, pixelated Crash Bandicoot, I was picturing that, but I was too into it.
Kenneth, what did you think?
It was really surprising to me because it was not what I went to this game expecting, because I got myself so hyped up on a thief's end that I thought that this was gonna end in some sort of death, or like at different points in the game I thought maybe Nate and Elaine would get divorced or something, but then we get a happy ending, and we got one that was. I just don't feel like anyone can win this game expect. Like, there was a lot of talks of like maybe them having a kid, but like I don't think there was ever like. I didn't hear a lot of people saying that maybe this would be a happily ever after story where everything was going to basically turn out perfectly all right. We get like. Well, I'll let us get further in before I start talking more about just like the way that Cassie interacts with Nate and Elena. But yeah, I was very caught off guard, but pleasantly surprised by it.
Also, I mean, I guess it's not really a bad thing, but when the game's called A Thief's End, you're expecting something to happen. Like, somebody's gonna die, and even if somebody's not gonna die, something big is gonna happen. But I mean, we got a happy ending. We got the happiest of happy endings that could ever happen in that game, possibly.
Yeah.
Nobody really died. Nobody even lost a leg or something or whatever. Like, it was like. It bothered me for a quick second, but then the epilogue went on, and then I was happier that they went on with that ending, because, like I said, and then it went back to the theme of family, not just Drake and Sam, but everyone else. But for a split second, I was kind of disappointed, but not for long.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought when Neil Druckmann took over that for sure Nate was gonna die. Like, I don't know, maybe it was like the terribly dark memories from The Last of Us, but I was convinced that with A Thief's End, Nate was going to die, and if he didn't, then it was going to be Sam. And I almost got Sam.
Yeah.
I was like, when that was happening, I was like, just go, Drake. Jump out the boat.
Did anybody else get the sense that maybe, possibly, they're leaving some room for a possible spin-off or maybe sequel in the future, like, in case their daughter decides to kind of pursue the thing?
Well, they did,
because they lived off like she's really interested in it, like she really wants to know more,
because she found all their hidden stuff. But
she was also a treasure hunter too. I mean, I looked at every single piece I could find, and there was a magazine cover she was on where she was like treasure hunter of the year or something for her like age range, and it was
okay. And Naughty Dog said that while they are not planning on making another game, they weren't going to stop somebody else from making another Uncharted game.
Yeah, I mean, and I get that money makes the world go round, but like, I didn't leave this game feeling like I needed like another story. I don't even need like a Cassie Drake game. I don't need like
Yeah.
anything. Like I feel like there's so few times in this medium that we get something that has like a definitive end cap on it, and I feel like after this end, I felt like there was more value to letting something be over and like have a legacy than bleeding the name dry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even then, like, I mean, I was so happy with the ending because every time I finish any kind of game, show, movie, I'm always looking for more information online, and this game gave it to me after I finished the game. So, I mean, I spent time looking at everything in the prologue, all the hitting things I could find, and there was so much information and so much finality to the story for Drake and Elena. And even if you look at the themes, like, they continued to do treasure hunting, but they did it on their terms, and they didn't do it as Drake normally would have, with guns blazing and killing everyone. They were a very legal, very profitable, scavenging team. They would go to shipwrecks and things like that, and I don't think they would let their daughter be Drake.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to see another game with her. I was very happy with the ending. I mean, if anything, I'd want to see like animations or something of them telling stories to her. That would be something I'd be more interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they left the door wide open in case they decide at some point. Why not?
Right.
But let's just still hope that nobody comes in and just shits on this ending, because that's I just
No, yeah. I hope it doesn't happen.
I
mean,
feel like it would be almost disrespectful to like just come in, stomp on somebody else's house and just, I don't know.
yeah, and not only that, but I mean, one of the best things about the Uncharted series being over is that the chances of a Jack and Daxter sequel have now gone up tremendously. Like, now they have The Last of Us and Jack and Daxter, unless they get Crash Bandicoot back. So those are good odds, and I'm really happy about that.
I'd rather see Crash at this point, because I think Jack kind of ran its course, and I wouldn't want them to go back to the series. If anything, maybe that world where Jack takes in would be a little better. But I mean, Naughty Dog so far is, I mean, I don't know of any letdown they've ever done. I mean, do any of you?
No.
No.
So whatever they do next is probably going to be awesome. So I'd rather see them make something new.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of disappointed that Uncharted 4 didn't end up being a kart game, because every fourth, they always have their trilogy, and then the fourth game always ends up being a kart with Crash Bandicoot and then Jack X, and I was hoping for Uncharted karting.
Well, they did have the Jeep. Like, we did drive a car in this one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Kenneth, this is why you're here. Basically, I think technically they did. I think technically they followed the trend and did a driving game.
Yeah, there was that scene where you're jumping from car to car with weapons. I mean, that was basically a kart racing game.
Yeah, there it is. I'm gonna write an article about that.
Can I
go ahead.
just briefly mention that this has nothing to do with the epilogue or anything, but the game plot did not involve anything absolutely absurd like the first three games. It was so nice for them not to discover like some sort of crazy zombie monsters or
Yes, what the fuck? What was
purple
that?
like aliens. The Guardians. It was so nice to have like a plot that didn't
about those games,
revolve around something just absolutely so far-fetched that I could get into it. Like this was great.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up in the after. I kind of enjoyed those in the other games. I mean, it was nice to have a more grounded story, as grounded as one guy taking on hundreds can
right.
be, but like, I mean, I for one enjoyed the Nazi zombies from the first game. I didn't really care as much for the other ones they did. And the genie thing was cool, but it was a little too out there. But there was definitely a lack of that fantasy or surrealism from this one.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that, and I think it benefited the plot more because it kind of focused around like some of the central themes of the game too.
Yeah, I agree, because it adds like a second layer to Nate not wanting to like even bother with this treasure, because he leaves the ones from the first 3 games where they are because it's like a danger to society, but this one it just really sells that Nate doesn't care about treasure, he cares about his family and the people that he loves rather than wealth.
Right.
Alright, well, I think we covered the 5th topic I was going to bring up about the ending. I mean, they all had an ending to the story that we enjoyed for the most part, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was perfect for this game. Absolutely.
Very good. Well, I mean, at this point, I'd like to know if you have any topics you wanted to bring up on your own, or if there was anything that you thought about the game you liked or didn't like. If anyone wants to go up for that, I guess we'd start with Kenneth.
I mean, I think we hit on the key points. I was going to ask you, actually, now that I think about it, we didn't even talk about this on our podcast. Did any of you guys get into the multiplayer at all?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I'm trying to, like...
Didn't have time.
I played it a bit for the review, but I'm trying to, like, really maybe invest some time into it, because...
I've played, like, I would say, like, 6 to 10 hours since I finished it to now. It's fun. I mean, I like buying the treasure chest with the points and just seeing the crazy crap that you put in the game. The dances and everything that you can do to make Drake look ridiculous.
Those dances are really good.
Oh, they were trance-inducing. Like, the amount of... I mean, I went to school for animation, so, like, the amount of time and effort they put into those movements, and, like, every little piece of the character moving was amazing.
The detail, I am no expert by any means, but the details on those, I was just looking at them today. They're incredible.
The twerking.
Yeah. Your dabs, Paul.
Yeah.
And the hotline bling.
Right.
But I do enjoy the online. I hope they add more content to it soon. Because I was starting to already get bored with the 3 game modes they have available. The best being, to me, the one where you find the totem and bring it back to your team. It's basically like capture the flag.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's fun. I haven't tried the capture like positions too much.
It's pretty decent.
Yeah. It's fun to swing around because you have all of the movement from the single player in the multiplayer. So you see people swinging around, shooting machine guns, and sliding down whatever mud ramp they put in. And I do think they need a little more diversity in the weapons as well. I've already noticed that like the AK is this. Everyone's running AK for some reason, and it's just any kind of assault rifle beats every other gun.
Yeah.
Just probably because the speed that you're playing, like being able to snipe is a little harder when everyone's jumping and sliding around as opposed to just, letting bullets fly everywhere.
Yeah, and the shotgun's way underwhelming.
Yeah, I tried the shotgun on one round and I did not enjoy it that much.
Yeah, when I like hit you like point blank with my shotgun twice and you're not dead, that bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that they have perfected their own formula for the multiplayer. If you like consider where they were at Uncharted 2 to where they are now, it's a different.
Yeah, it's always been a throw-in for the series, but now it actually feels like a true addition of the game.
Yeah. We haven't talked about the actual game itself, which I think we should, at least for a tiny little bit, just for the sake of criticism. Gameplay, mainly. To me, personally, what I wanted this game needed to hit 3 specific things. Number 1, it needed to have a good ending. And I was really happy with the ending. I like I said, I was disappointed for a split second, but then it grew on me, and then I was happy with it. Number 2, it needed Sam had to be developed well. And again, I had my issues with him, but then eventually he grew on me, and then I loved the way he was developed throughout the whole game. And then number 3, the third kind of check mark that the game needed to hit, it needed to have something to kind of distinguish it from the other Uncharted games, because this is the first Uncharted on a PS4, on a current generation. It needed to do something a little bit more. If you played Uncharted 1, 2, and 3, if you played any of them, you played all of them, basically. So I think this game had to add a little more. And I think they did, mainly because those sneaking kind of sections of the game, I don't think that was implemented in the games before, at least not to this depth or extent. The fact that you could go into each section, and you could shoot everyone, or you could just take them out silently. I think that added a ton of depth into the game. And then the way you use that rope, you could just kind of swing around and then kind of attack somebody and then kind of get back and swing around some more. I think that was done really well, and it was enough. It wasn't a ton of changes from Uncharted. I didn't want a ton of changes, but I think it was enough for me to be satisfied with it being a little bit more than what I'm used to.
Yeah, it was definitely a very complete experience just for the PS4, especially with it being the last in the series. They touched on every point they could. They perfected everything they could, and even that we couldn't think of that they added to the game.
The stealth mechanics were so good. I mean, it was like as good as a Metal Gear Solid game.
It was good. I did feel that at some points with the stealth that if you triggered an alarm, enemies came out of everywhere. There was one point in Scotland where I think it was right before you get into the caves. There was a group of enemies that if you triggered, it went from 3 enemies to the area to about 20, and they were tossing like dynamite at me. It escalated quickly. But it wasn't a terrible experience. I just went from killing 3 guys to 20. So. Adding to Nate's kill count.
Yeah, the stealth was very, very similar to The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Just the whole setup.
Although it was missing the ability to draw attention away.
Yes.
Which I really enjoyed in Last of Us.
Yeah.
I agree. You could... I don't know if you could in every area, but at least towards the end of the game, you could get away far enough where they would just kind of forget about you, and then you could just go back in and sneak kill them all if you messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Metal Gear, it would go from danger to caution.
Yeah.
I think the only thing, I think Eric's right. There were a lot of moments when I was hiding, and I wish I had something to distract them, like throw a rock or anything. I think the closest thing that I got to that was you can just kind of free throw a grenade and they won't see you. They'll just kind of go to where it explodes. That's as close as they got, I think. Also, is this the best looking game that's ever been
actually,
made? Close to it?
Digital Foundry tested it out and I think confirmed that it is the best performing and looking console game of all time.
Like they did the research, and this game looks really good.
They did, it's better. It ran better and looks better than Battlefront, which would be like your second nicest looking console game. But yes, they did. They tested it. They test every game, and it runs and performs almost immaculately. Even with the the buffering of images, there was none. Everything was smooth.
Did any of you guys ever come across a glitch? I saw a couple online. I saw Evan. You said the sound dropped out at one point. Was that just a joke, or was that actually happened?
No. This actually happened. That was the only complaint I had. I think it was when you bust back into your hotel room and Elaine is waiting there. For some reason, it was either the splashing of when they got out of the car, or splashing from the waves before they got to the hotel, but the splashing was just overpowering the entire cutscene, and it was like a pretty dramatic cutscene because she was like pissed that you were there, and but like all I heard was just like water splashing for the whole cutscene.
Oh.
Did you have an issue, Kenneth, at any point?
No, not with sound or anything. I did have some infrequent frame rate problems, but they were so infrequent that I didn't even really bother to mention them. Yeah. Other than that, though, the game ran pretty much flawlessly for me.
I actually came across another sound issue, different than yours, Evan. That scene where I mentioned where you were jumping from car to car.
Yeah.
All of the sound cut out for me except for the machine guns.
Oh, really?
So I didn't hear the cars. I didn't hear the mud. And it kind of ruined the whole scene for me, which was probably one of the bigger set pieces in the game.
Yeah.
I was kind of upset about that, but it was so late. I was so tired. I just played through it.
I don't know why that's so funny to me. Like, I imagined you, Eric, just sitting there and being like, man, like, you ruined
Like,
this
I'm
game.
disappointed while I'm, snapping people's necks. And,
my game did crash once, also. It just, one of those forced crash.
Yeah.
But it wasn't in a major, nothing huge. I didn't lose any time or anything. But
they were pretty good on their auto saves, and
yeah, which is
oh, go ahead.
Oh, that's nice because on the Uncharted collection, their auto saves and crashing was an issue. My friend was just about to finish his crushing run on the original Uncharted, which, in my opinion, is probably the most difficult one to do on crushing. He was just about to finish it. And while it was auto-saving after a death, the game crashed, and all of his data was corrupted. Mm-hmm. And because of the autosave system in that game anyway, that was the only save file. It saved over your save file. And so all of his save data for just that file was gone.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. I didn't have any issues like that, and I did see, as I went back and thought about starting again or playing through some more, but I'm gonna wait to play with my girlfriend. But I saw that you can actually pick to the spawn point where you want to start again, so you can not just pick the chapter, but you can pick the gunfight. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah,
maybe I'll play that car scene again just to enjoy it.
That and when you pick chapters, and this might not actually be new to Uncharted 4, but as far as my limited memory goes, you could, when you choose a chapter or a new game, you don't save over any of your old files. So, and I don't remember again if they did that in 2 or 3, but in the original one, I actually uninstalled the game after I started a new game, and it saved over my data.
Mm-hmm.
And I still needed to go back to the last chapter and get a couple treasures. I was pretty upset. I don't know if that was my mistake or the game's mistake, but this one it's very easy and clear, so that doesn't happen.
Yeah. All right. I mean, does anyone have any closing comments they'd like to throw in?
No.
I adjusted my overall score. Because the way our points add up on our website, the 98 that it gave for sound still equated out to 100, and I didn't feel right giving any game a perfect score. So, and I talked to Paul briefly about it, but if ever there was a game that I would consider giving a perfect score to, it would be this. But then it kind of sets an impossible bar in my head, and then if another game passes it, then it kind of devalues my perfect score.
Ken, you gave it 100.
I did. I guess I kind of associate I don't necessarily associate 100 with perfection.
Yeah, me neither.
I kind of if you give a game that score, I feel like you're saying that it does what it sets out to do as well as you think it possibly could have.
Yeah.
So I even had I had a couple issues with the game, like the frame rate issues I mentioned earlier, the whole like thing that's basically from The Last of Us, where characters like run in front of enemies while you're in stealth and just like nothing happens. But I still think Uncharted 4, for what Naughty Dog set out to do, perfectly executed what I wanted it to be. It gave me an ending that felt true to everything that I've done before in the series, and really, as I said before, I don't need another Uncharted after this. I feel like it really concisely ended this series in a way that was satisfying to me, and I don't think I ever really need to see Nathan Drake again. I don't want to see Cassie. I don't want to see Lane. I don't want to see any of this. We're like, close the book and keep it closed. That's what I came away from Uncharted 4 feeling.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I do agree with you.
Yeah, I don't think just giving something a 10 or 100 means that it's absolutely perfect. There's just too many variables and too many games.
True.
I think in my whole lifetime, the only two games that I think I have or would have given like a perfect 10 or 100, whichever, are Ocarina of Time and Resident Evil 4. Now, there are two completely different games. I think I remember. I think it was like back in 2012 when I was working for another website, and I reviewed Resident Evil 6, and I gave it like I think an 8, and then I got comments of people saying, "Okay, so that site gave, I think it was like Halo ODST or a different Halo, like a 7.5. Are you saying that's a better game than Halo?" And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that. They're two completely different games. If I was like reviewing a Halo game and then another Halo game, yeah, then you can make the comparison. But
review scores are not relative.
Yeah, like nothing is ever gonna be perfect. Even if you give something a 10, it's not gonna be a perfect game. But like Ken was saying, if it does everything, absolutely everything that you think the game was supposed to do, and it does, yeah, then give it a perfect score. Now, I wouldn't give the game a perfect score. I think there's a few tiny, very, very tiny things that keep it from being perfect, but it's damn near perfect.
It's probably one of the best games we're going to see this generation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so far it is my game of the year.
Here,
go ahead.
I was my biggest concern, personally, and that isn't even really a big concern, is that 1 year down the road, am I going to remember it as fondly as I enjoyed it? Like, there are some games that I absolutely love, and if I go back and play them, it's just like all sorts of nostalgia bubble up. Even recent games. I don't think Uncharted 4 is going to be one of those games.
Right.
And that's just the type of, like, the genre of game that does that for me is not the action-packed platformer. I mean, it was damn good, but I'm not going to remember it as perfect a year down the road.
I see where you're coming from, and we, like, when we were at Game Intern where I work, when we were talking about Game of the Year, there was a lot of, like, after even like 6 months or so, people were like really down on games that they were like really up on, like things like Arkham Knight, Fallout 4. And it's kind of that's a natural thing that people do. Like, you start to lose your like hype-driven fondness for something after a while. But my thing is, again, Uncharted 4 did everything I needed it to do. Like, there are all these sort of like nitpicky things that I could go into, like, oh, I didn't enjoy this set piece that much or that action sequence, but still, I'm gonna remember, a year, 5 years, 10 years from now, things like the epilogue and the normal life section, like the parts of the game that really meant things to me. I can't imagine cooling on, even after a year or years down the line.
Yeah, the way that I see it, I mean, you just compare it to an Uncharted game. You have 4 to pick from. Is it the best Uncharted game? Yeah, like, if it is. And 1, 2, and 3 are already pretty good games. Or actually, 2 specifically, in my opinion, is a really, really, fucking good, almost perfect game. So the fact that I see this game and I think, yeah, it's a little bit better than that game, yeah. it gave a good ending to the series. That's enough for me to say, yeah, that's almost a perfect score. Maybe not in my personal opinion, but I think The Last of Us is still a better game than this, by not a ton, but just a little bit. But yeah, it's as far as what we've had in 2016. I mean, I still have Final Fantasy 15 to look forward to, even Pokemon Sun and Moon, which I'm actually really excited for, and just a few surprises too that I'm not sure about. But so far, this is the best game that I played this year, by far.
Yeah, I agree. It is easily the best game I played this year. And it'll probably be easily the best game I play probably for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Can't wait for that the Jack and Daxter SpoilerCast.
All right. Well, I think we'll call it there unless anyone's got anything else they want to say. And yeah, no.
No, I just want to thank Ken for stopping by. This
thanks for having me.
This was awesome.
This is like a cool crossover episode that we've had. This is like the Avengers of video game websites.
The Uncharted Avengers.
Yeah, teaming up. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Ken.
Well, thanks for having me.
And real quick, you mentioned the nostalgia thing. Nothing will beat Crash Bandicoot. Nothing.
that is probably the most accurate statement we've made all night.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, thank you again, Kenneth, and thanks Evan and Paul for coming out tonight to talk about Uncharted. And we'll see you guys next time for the next SpoilerCast.
All right.
Jack and Daxter.